Hello and welcome. I am very grateful that you found your way here. We are now starting a new way to gather. We are calling it the Sovereign Collective. I previously had separate the women and the men, and then I started thinking, I think it would be wonderful to bring these two conversations together to kind of help each other into a greater capacity to sit with what lives in each of us, whether we're male or female, whatever we are identifying ourselves as, what gender. We have masculine and feminine energies within us. So, welcome here. The goal for this is to create a safe container, a space where we can come together and speak freely, be curious, be compassionate for ourselves and each other in the conversation of our humanity, of how to be in relationship with ourselves first. And that is not a selfish thing, but in order to be in relationship with everything in life, it will directly be reflective of how we are in relationship with ourselves. So, welcome here to the month of June and the series of Learning to Stay. Learning to stay is interesting because I want to speak to that and hold on, time out for a second before, while everyone's arriving here. Um, I would like to welcome you here, and if it's safe for you, to close your eyes and just become a little more still. So if it's safe wherever you are, go ahead and close your eyes. If you're driving or watching this at a later date and find yourself in a place that you can't close your eyes, fine. Continue to take some deep breaths wherever you are and just notice in your body how it feels different when you are choosing to be aware of your breath, to breathe slowly and intentionally, and bring in more peace, more stillness, and release what no longer serves you. So go ahead and allow yourself some space to just breathe. You cannot breathe in the past or the future. We can only breathe in the present moment. So just becoming aware of your breath, of your abdomen, exhaling, inhaling, and exhaling, of how that affects your body, just being here right now, nowhere else to be. And I honor you for this radical act of self-care, of showing up here for yourself because you're curious. Just allow yourself to feel the chair beneath you. Let that ground you in. Feel your feet on the floor wherever you be, and just notice your breath. And in that noticing, you will notice, hopefully, that what previously felt noisy can begin to settle. That when we allow ourselves with intention to be more still, that something happens. Pay attention. Think of it as water. Water that is stirred up is murky. So imagine that your mind is a pool of water. And as you become more still and you slow down, intentionally chosen stillness, you will notice that that dust, the murkiness in that pool of water starts to settle. And now still waters run clear. Your mind can be more clear. You can drop down into the space of your heart now. And from this place, we're no longer on autopilot. We're more able to tap into the truest essence of ourselves, which is not driven by our mind, but driven by our soul, our heart, our desires, the things we're drawn to. Okay. So, as always, you are welcome to share here in this space. You're welcome to just simply listen. And you're also welcome to participate in whatever way feels right for you. There is no pressure. And even witnessing, just being a noticer, is participation. So, circling back around to the theme for June, we'll move through this as we go, having different themes. And if you would like me to speak to a certain theme, please reach out to me. DM me on Instagram at the Buffalo Queen. Um, Leave comments in YouTube, and I will respond and answer questions or speak to what is moving through you. So we're speaking first about learning to stay. And before we go any further, I'm curious what that phrase brings up for you. Learning to stay. Stay where? Stay with what? What does that phrase stir in you? Does it feel inviting? Does it feel uncomfortable? Or does it create curiosity? Or even does it create resistance? Go ahead and feel free to drop a word or two in the chat. If you're here, if you're not here live, then go ahead and think about, like, feel into it. Maybe just pause and think, learning to stay. Okay. So for many of us, I'm just going to speak to learning to stay because we will all have a different, probably, definition of what that means for us. And what I'm speaking to here this evening is something that I think as I speak more to it, you'll be like, ah, I get that. Okay. But because many of us were never taught how, what staying was like. Staying wasn't something that we saw modeled so much by our parents that were more likely the silent generation. We learned how to move away from discomfort, how to actually distract ourselves and to manage our emotions, and how to stay busy. But very few of us were shown how to stay present with ourselves when life felt uncertain, painful, overwhelming, confusing, or even just emotionally messy or tumultuous. And yet, that is often where our healing begins when we are more willing to stay with ourselves through anything that comes, any experience that we're having, instead of distracting or shutting down or staying extra busy or numbing out. Sometimes we do it so quickly, we aren't aware that we aren't present. We're just kind of stuck thinking about things from the past and worrying about our predicted future based on how our past was. So, this conversation tonight is specifically, so that's the month of June. And then specifically tonight, we're going to begin speaking about the masks we learn to wear. And even though I called it that, the more I've been sitting with this title, I've realized there's actually another word that fits better into this paradigm and the things we're going to be, the subject and this theme, and it's adaptations. Because most of the things we do automatically are not signs that something is wrong with us. They are signs that something happened to us. And welcome to the human race. We all have it. We all have our version of adaptations that we came to live within because something happened to us when we were younger. At some point in our lives, after, or often when we were very young, before speech, even sometimes, we encountered experiences that did feel painful, and they were confusing and overwhelming, or even unsafe. So maybe we felt criticized, or we felt unseen or rejected, or we felt responsible for things that were never ours to carry. And because we were children, we didn't have the language, the experience, or the resources, or the understanding to know how to be, how to stay with those feelings. So we adapted. brilliantly, naturally, humanly, and we found ways innately to stay safe. We found ways to belong in our family, in our communities, with our friends. We found ways to protect ourselves, and many of these adaptations are still showing up today in our lives. If we aren't bringing awareness and like curiosity and compassion to these adaptations, they will keep playing out as patterns in our lives, trying to protect us from what? From having to be emotionally real, having to be intimately connected to parts of ourselves that we are so used to ignoring because that's what we saw our parents doing, that we just don't know what to do. So these are some of the adaptations that I want to speak to. So the question here is, have you ever noticed that there are certain versions of yourself that seem to show up automatically when something is happening that is quite normal, and yet we have been kind of trained and socialized to believe that it's easier to adapt around uncomfortability, emotional uncomfortability, when things feel intense or uncomfortable or confusing, instead of asking questions or being present and having a hard conversation, we do some of these things. So I'm going to list these out. Just maybe even close your eyes and put your hand on your heart and just feel into these ways that we have learned to adapt. And guess what? As I came up with this list, I realized, oh, I think I've been each one of these for sure at some point in my life, and for sure still I am I am living out some of these adaptations still. And I have been in this on this path of kind of waking up to the things that have been automatically happening in my life without my awareness and turning towards them and softening them. And yet it still I'm still human and I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And that's the beauty of it, is with curiosity and compassion, I I get to be the one. I don't have to be. It's not something I'm feeling that I'm telling you you need to do, or that I must do this. This is something we should do. It's no, it is an invitation to become a little more curious about what is functioning subconsciously below our awareness. And it's been happening since childhood. So taking some time, that radical act of self-care, it begins here. This is the beginning of healing, and the more freedom, more spaciousness when we're willing to turn towards these adaptations. So here is the list. Drum roll, please. So the one who performs, the one who pleases, the one who achieves, the one who stays strong, the one who becomes indispensable. That's a popular one. If I am indispensable and I can do all things really well, then I belong. I have value here. No one would ever see me as anything but capable, reliable, responsible, indispensable. They couldn't do it without me. That's a heavy thing to carry. Okay, moving along. The one who stays invisible, the one who stays busy, the one who carries everyone else's burden, the one who makes sure everyone else is okay first, the one who keeps everyone happy, the one who never asks for help, the one who gets everything right, the one who disappears, the one who makes jokes and keeps levity, keeps everyone laughing, the one who keeps the peace, or the one who withdraws. And there are many iterations of these adaptations. And let me just say, how is it that can you feel that all of these are like Olympic rings? They're kind of linked together, and we all have a version of this because brilliantly, innately, we knew how to kind of shape shift in order to protect ourselves and feel safe, feel belonging, because it's wired in our DNA anciently. If we are cast out of our tribe, of our family, of our communities, we won't survive. So it's actually a deep-seated, ancient DNA thing. In order to survive, we feel we must be a certain way in order to belong. And that will look different for each one of our circumstances, even if there are five children in the same family, each child will adapt differently according to their personality and the way that their parents treat them and the way their birth order, the way they show up in their family dynamics. So there's none of these are wrong. They really are brilliant and something to just be curious about and actually to honor that version of us that came to believe that this is who we are. So this is the thing I want to say. So these are the adaptations, but for many of us, they've been with us for so long that we have actually mistaken them for who we be. Oh, I'm the one. I'm the funny one. And you are the responsible one. And you are the one that kind of shuts down and disappears. We all have our own story. And this is the thing that's interesting is as we bring awareness to these adaptations, and have compassion for them, they start to soften. They're not so rigid. And now we can actually sit with them, be with them, have grace for them, honor them for getting us to where we are now, where we can have that compassion and be more available to those versions of us so they can soften a bit. Because one thing I know is true is I sit with people and as I sit with myself, I realize one of the adaptations that become so there's adaptations and maladaptations. We're not going to talk so much about the maladaptations, but in maladaptations would be we're all on the spectrum of adaptations, but maladaptations would be leaning more towards things that are actually addictive, substance abuse and the usage of self-soothing in porn or masturbation to become a protection, a safety, a self-soothing for the things that are uncomfortable. So we can adapt and we actually get praised for our adaptations. They're celebrated. Look how good you are at serving everyone and being so responsible and taking control. Can you see how that adaptation actually can become a badge of honor? And we identify with it and we get addicted in some ways to the identity of us being that way. And it becomes our narrative and we live in the world of our words. So we begin to really believe our story. This is who I be. This is who I am. And if it's something we don't like, we're just like, well, this is just how it is. Or if it's something we're carrying that's so heavy and we're exhausted, can you see how turning toward it with compassion actually can soften it? And we can say, wait, is it true that I need to be the responsible one and carry everyone's weight? That's exhausting. And I'm kind of tired of it. And I think it's time to move into a different identity. Could it be that I can still have value and still belong and still be loved, even if I'm not the responsible one? Or the one that's making levity and everyone happy and fun. So these are the things to start noticing. When it comes to my own story, one of my own adaptations was performing wellness. I loved holding it all together. I loved being capable and strong. I always had a smile on my face, and it appeared as though everything was fine while I was carrying far more than I was even able to acknowledge. So there was nothing wrong with that adaptation. It absolutely helped me survive many difficult years in my marriage. But over time, carrying unfelt emotions and unspoken truths takes a toll. And life finally, like life does, invited me to turn toward what I had spent years turning away from. And it doesn't matter whether that's like a cracking open, a dark night of the soul, a deep descent into, for me, it was, I don't know who I am. I've just been a version of a people pleaser, and every person I stood in front of, was a different version of me according to what I believed they wanted me to be. So, can you see how confusing it can be when you finally wake up to the fact that, uh-oh, I think that how I've been living my life hasn't been authentic to me. I've been living some sort of truth that I thought was important to live for other people. And that isn't sustainable because then what is our life other than for someone else or something else? Yes, it's beautiful to serve, but when we arrive at the capacity for deep intimacy and serving of one's essence, truest essence, I really do believe that as we sit with ourselves and grow our capacity for intimacy with self and all the systems, our emotional, physical, spiritual, mental health, that creates a space so open and expanded and abundant that now naturally this flow of abundance flows out into all of our lives. Every relationship is affected by how we are in relationship with ourselves, which means that all of life is affected by how we are in relationship with ourselves. How often are we turning towards ourselves and being willing to stay? Willing to look at our adaptations and be gentle with ourselves, saying, of course, I adapted that way. What a brilliant thing I did when I was younger. Can I honor that version of me and say, thank you? Like literally have a conversation with that version of you. Let them in. Let them in. Be curious and compassionate. Of course, you came to believe that, honey. Anyone would have, and it's okay. You can set that down now. There's no need to protect yourself and be safe. You can be safe by the mere fact that you're willing to turn towards it with compassion and allow it to come home so it can be included in your wholeness now. It's not something that's othered anymore. So I'm curious. Spencer says here, all of those, all of those adaptations. Okay. And someone else here says, who's unidentified, um, I think that I can identify with several of these. Yes, of course, that is so normal, and none of them are wrong. And even if you've stepped into the realm of maladaptations, that's okay. There's no shame in that because our adaptations, our addictions, our suffering, if you will, is actually the solution to our healing. How would we ever turn towards something unless we were suffering? It's our suffering that drives us to desire something more, to tap into our true essence, not our trauma, but our truth. When we're tapped into our heart, our truth, we will see more clearly and feel more compassionate towards the versions of us who chose to protect ourselves, which is such a human thing. So, I'm curious. I'm going to ask a few more questions here in closing. So I'm going to make these gatherings really short and sweet. I don't, that previously they were an hour long, and I would invite people to come and we could do some, I could support you in whatever way, and that is still available. But as this grows and more people start coming, there, I think there will be more dialogue. Right now, I'm just tapping into these themes, offering these um, curiosities, things to be curious about and compassionate with, and send you on your way with a little more um, awareness of how we function as humans. I geek out on human behavior and the intersection of spirituality, like metaphysics, the things we cannot see, which are more spiritual, and science, quantum science, the theory of all the the energy that is everywhere that that our universe exists by, and how spirituality is actually explained by those scientific methods that are now coming out more and more. We have access to quantum physics and how the nature of the universe actually functions. And it's all energy. So we will continue these conversations. But in closing, I want to ask you these questions. I've kind of tapped into it, but what if these adaptations were never a problem? What if they were simply younger versions of ourselves doing their best to protect something very tender? So the invitation isn't to judge them, right? It's compassion. And the invitation is to notice them with curiosity. Become a noticer, to honor them, to thank them for how they have served us and brought us to where we be now. And perhaps to begin asking whether they are still needed in the same way today. So the invitation is this week until we meet again. Just simply notice, become a noticer. Notice what shows up automatically in your days. Someone says something and you react automatically. Something happens, a driver cuts you off. How do you react automatically? A conversation suddenly turns and it gets really intense. How do you automatically show up? That's what I want you to notice. Just practicing noticing. Notice what it might be, these adaptations, what they might be protecting. What is the tender, younger version of you actually protecting by creating those adaptations of showing up in a certain way and performing or pleasing or achieving or staying strong or being indispensable or invisible or busy or distracted or carrying someone else's burden? Can you see how all of these really did protect us? So notice what happens when you meet it with curiosity instead of judgment. And that's it. It's that simple. It's that simple to just become a noticer. And I want to say, I'm going to bring in the physics of this, is because our brains, we know now through enough research over these decades, that our brain has neuroplasticity. And that is beautiful to know because it means that where we were previously automatically reacting, and those neural pathways are deep, like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, you can't get out of the rut. You're just in it. And you're like, why does this keep happening? Why do all my relationships are the same and all my experiences of life seem to have a general theme? Pay attention. The minute we start to notice, you are not in the same default pattern. You're not in the same rut. It's almost as if there has been a new snowfall that has come and covered the old default pattern, adaptation, way to think and be or believe that you are. And now you have a choice. I don't want to be the one who performs. I'm sick of pleasing. I'm tired of staying strong and achieving. I don't want to carry everyone else's burden. That's actually important for them to have this experience with cause and effect. I am no longer going to enable people to stay disabled by over functioning to help. And it may seem brutal, but there can be compassion and love as you hold space to help someone else evolve into their best, most true essence of themselves and not being codependent on another. So, by simply noticing, you're creating a new neural pathway just in the noticing. In that moment, it's like, oh, I'm not in my default mode of reaction. I actually have a little bit of space to choose a response. That's it. So for this week, as you notice, oh, I did that thing, even if it's after, it's okay. If you notice after, oh, I just yelled. Oh, I shut down. Oh, I just distracted myself. Oh, I numbed out. I just went and ate food, or I just went and scrolled. I started to death scroll. Whatever it is, we all have them and there's no shame. Welcome to the human race. We are beings that want to protect and keep ourselves feel safe. But what if the very act of noticing becomes safe? Now you're safe to feel anything, have any conversation, have any response, because now you trust yourself to stay. You're going to stay. You're the one who stays. That changes everything. You're no longer absent from your life, you're present. That's what staying is. It's presence. It's being here in the now moment with whatever comes and not trying to change it, but allowing it to be just what it is and still be okay. So, thank you for showing up here. I appreciate you tending to yourself in a new way. I don't know why I feel so called to this work. It has changed my life. And so I love to share it with others, with clients, with friends, with family, with anyone who's willing to listen, because I know how much it can bring more sovereignty and freedom to your life, to every aspect of your life. Physically, you're more free. You're not carrying so much emotional tension. Your neck softens. Your dis-ease starts to become more relaxed. There's more solace, more space. That is freedom. Freedom to me is just deeper levels of healing. So, and deeper level healing is just deeper levels of freedom. It's it's this give and take. And it's so beautiful to have people step into this space and have these aha moments of, oh, I can do that too. Yes, you can. You can do that. And it will change it'll change everything in your life. Okay. Thank you for being here. I love and believe in you. And ciao until next time.